Welcome to Traffic with Win number 2. Recently recorded a video on the 3 biggest mistakes founders and companies make when scaling setters and their sales appointment. And it was more on a high level. Here's the 3 biggest problem with 3 problems, if you will. And then today I want to kind of dive into one components of it. This is inspired by a very, very new, but also I can tell we're gonna become great friends. His name is Will. He just started hiring his first appointment setter, sales development rep, growth specialist, whatever you want to call it. And he runs a great company that helps businesses really master the fundamental of finances without having to be an accountant or a bookkeeper or somebody who's actually great with money. So basically, financial education for entrepreneurs, so they know, and they basically to get paid, right, and run a profitable companies. So because this is the first time he's hired an appointment setter. Lots of questions about hey, how do I even do this properly, right? So for today, I'm just gonna kind of rattle off a bunch of bullet points, best practices, benchmarks for that. So hopefully this is helpful. Again, if you're hiring setters or sales development reps who's gonna pick up the phone and schedule appointments, do prospecting, send emails, messages, phone calls, voicemails, and with the hope of, hey, these are actually going to turn into meetings for your sales team and then revenue, right? Sales. And you're like, hey, where do I find them? A great setter. How do I hire them? How much do I pay them? And the likes. Okay, so here we go. Where to find them? First, start with your networks. And that includes your friends, family, ex-coworkers, your employees, your clients. A lot of people are kind of hesitant to tap into their client list, but let me tell you, your past clients often either make the best hires or the best referrals because they already understand your values and your company and what you stand for. Have great success with that. Or referrals. So salespeople knows, especially good salespeople, know other good salespeople. I get asked all the time, do you know anyone that are good in sales or would be a great setter? And so start there. If they're not that, LinkedIn, Indeed, job boards, Facebook groups, I've had great success with those sites. With one caveat is you have to have a great hiring process. I touched on it a little bit yesterday. So you can't just post a job on there and then expect great people is going to come through. You're going to have to filter through the roles, have homework for these candidates. So kind of the committed and the great one kind of surface to the top. So for these sites, you're just looking for volume, a lot of applications, but then you need to have a great filtering system to get to the best ones without wasting too much of your time. I've heard Upwork, especially if you're looking for something a little less formal, for smaller companies as well. So that's where to find them, how to hire them properly. Mentioned it yesterday. Absolutely have to do a mock interview where you're gonna go and ask some of these candidates to actually perform a function or a piece or a portion of the job that they would be performing. So my favorite one is always, as long as when it comes to appointment setting, is try to set an appointment with me. And I'll do another deep dive video into how to do that properly. But that's how to hire. How much do you pay them? This depends on, it varies widely, right? If you're in SaaS and tech sales, you're looking at 60 to 70 to 80K to start. You can get away probably on the low end with 50 a year. If you're on the online space, it could be a little bit lower than that, but most people getting into this position or this industry is trying to make anywhere between 4 to 7K a month, right? So 50 grand to 70, 80K a month. So you kind of, the math has to, full-time, so the math kind of have to work out for them in that way. And then you got to figure out how does the math work out for you as the business, right? What's your price point? Do you have funding or not? If we're talking about coaches, that's not the case with most coaches. So you got to factor in the price of your programs. SaaS is a different story. I'm going to speak to the people that probably need this the most today, which are consultants, service providers who don't have a lot of VC backing. So between 4 and 7, depending on your program, price point, your sales cycle as well. So if you selling B2B and it takes more than 30 days for a deal to close, it might not make sense, or you have to take into consideration. So how much you pay them, that's the range. And then depending on your sales cycle, your program price, right? Most appointment setting sales commission or salary consists of 2 components. One is the base salary. This is just how much money do you make just showing up, right? Plus a commission component to it, which is, and that could tie either to an appointment that show up and qualified, and or to revenue closed. So let me break it down, right? Let's say $4,000. Half of that might be their base, the other half might be commission, and you can adjust the scale of like how much is the base versus how much is commission based on the volume of leads that your company is generating. So for example, if your setter has to do a lot of outbound on their own, they have to go out there, find the lead, make the phone call, convince somebody to show up to your meeting and they don't know anything about your company, you're gonna want that base to be a little bit higher. Why? Because it's gonna take a long time and a lot of efforts for a rep to make that happen. And if you pay them only on commission, like there might be a whole month where they are working and they don't make anything, right? Because they have to convince people about, like, educate the company about people about your company, your offer, and then they're meeting. So if there's a lot more inbound leads, then you can move the slide back a little bit further in terms of what's base and what's commission. So if you have an abundance of inbound lead, your closers are like, you're already making sales, you already have someone who's closing deals, and they can close within 30 days. And I would say if you're getting on a low end 200 to 300 leads a month, new leads a month, then you can afford to pay less on the base and more on the commission. Okay, if you have like 0 lead volume and you're like, I only gotten business from referrals and I need somebody to get in here and get me more meetings, you're gonna have to pay a little more on the base. Now let's talk about commissions. Commission can be based on the number of the appointments that are attended and qualified with your sales team, and or it can also be a percentage of a deal closed from the appointment that is set by your setter. Okay, so I've seen it done both ways, where you got the base, you make, and then your commission is based on both the appointments attended and the sales closed. If this is your first time hiring somebody and you don't know what your show rates for this should be, then definitely do. You can start with a base, reasonable base, right? In the case of let's say if it's $4,000 a month, $1,500, $2,000 can be the base, and then the commission is going to be on only sales or deals that closed from these appointments that your setter is going to make, right? How much is it? It depends, right? The simplest math, and this is a bit nuanced, the simplest math here, if you are selling B2B, is do a projection how much money would your setter needs to make or would make if they're making one sale a day, right? So they set 4, 3, 4, 5 appointments a day, and the typical sales rate is 20, 25%, maybe 30%. And they're gonna make one sale a day, right? What commission percentage of the deal would you have to do so that they get to their 4, 5, 7K a month with their base? Okay, if you have questions about this, if you want me to look at your commission plan, drop me a message or a comment. I'm more than happy to help. Without diving into much details here and going into too much personal or pertinent details about commissions, I'll leave it at that. Just keep in mind, between 4 and 7K in all together, the cost of your setter, right, should be about, again, this is for coaches and online services, right, and consultants, not SaaS. SaaS is much different. For the online world, digital world, when all said and done, you're looking at, on the very low end, 3 to 4%. That's tough. More like 5 to 7, up to 10% of your revenue would go towards your setting processes. And you gotta think, this is not just salary, right? Tools, software, and the likes, and training and support, all that. So 10% is the higher end. Aim for 5 if you're efficient and you have a high ticket program. So that's the second thing. How to hire, how to pay, how do you manage them? So my friend, we had a great question here, and bless his soul, he already hired an appointment setting trainer to help him with this, because he knows that this is not where his zones of genius is. So how do you manage them? Especially if you're a founder, right? The problem or the issue that I've seen with founders trying to manage a setter or a team of setters is most founders typically didn't have to do this process themselves, right? You scale your offer or your program using word of mouth and in advertising, digital marketing, paid ads. Most people really, and then people show up to your calls. It's a lot easier for you to train your sellers because you've done that process before, right? The issue with most founders, they've never had to actually efficiently do a setting position full time. So it makes sense to hire help. If you're not quite there yet, just you, and you're like, I don't have any money to hire help, that's fine. Definitely follow a flow of training your reps in this flow. Your industry first, your product, how it solves the problem of the industry, and then the sales process, or like your sales process. Most people flip it around where they're like, hey, here's log into close.com or salesforce.com and good luck, right? That's not going to work for your brand new reps who don't have any experience in sales. Lean on your closer or your sales team as well. So pair up your setter with a closer or an account executive, right? Help each other out. The caveat I have there is the workflow and the mindset of a setter is very different than your salesperson, right? And your sales closer. So pair them up to learn the language of the industries and the common problems and the common challenges that they hear on the sales calls. But definitely don't rely on your salesperson to train a setter. They're not the same thing. Again, if you don't have any resources to hire help, put them up to 2 people, Cole Gordon and Alex Hormozy. Just look them on YouTube, and then plug your setter to some of the videos on sales. Okay, they'll give you a great foundational education on that. What else? Definitely focus on a lot of customer testimonials. And that accomplishes 2 things with customer testimonials. Number 1, the biggest thing in sales for new people is their confidence and they believe in the product and the company. And the more customer testimonials, especially in video format, in details that you can expose them to and make them watch and like write out notes, the more confident they are in the company. And two, they also get to listen to the customers' problems, pain points that they go through, and the transformation that they have going through your program. It's a win-win for and your employees are more bought into your company, assuming that you have great results, right? So make them. I would have my setters and closers too, actually, but I would make my setters literally script out customer testimonials, and I want them to tell me back, hey, after that 20 minutes video of a customer interviews, don't tell me that it was a great interview. Tell me what you learned from it. Tell me exactly the 3 transformation things that these clients have had with us. Where would that be before working with us? What was it like working with us? And then what's the result and the outcome and the transformation that we would help them create, right? They have to learn from these videos and be able to retell the stories to your prospects, not just like, oh, that was a great story, but I can't tell you what happened for that person, right? The other thing I will add to that is have them listen to sales calls as well of your best sales rep in the company at least once a week. So they should be listening to customer testimony videos and sales calls every week. At least one of those videos, so that's 2 videos a week. More often if you have more volume, right? Again, how to manage. You should definitely have a daily KPI tracker. So how many dials have they made? How many activities? That's the input. Output is how many meetings have they had? Also, how many conversations they've had, right? So dials, conversations, meetings every day. And that's tracked on a sheet. Definitely have daily huddles. I can't believe some companies don't have daily huddles with the sales team, especially if you're working remote. Your setters need it. Absolutely. What else? Show them how to make money. Also shout at the number of companies that don't just, again, because these guys sometimes are servers, line cooks, teachers, they've never had to work in a commission sales role before. Walk them through and show them how to hit their goal with money, okay? Even if you think it's so simple of like, well, I already told them that it's 3% of their sales, show them the math, right? Hey, let's projection 3 scenario. You're average, you're underperforming, you're absolutely the Rockstar, you put your work in and you hustle, here's how much money you're gonna make. Help them visualize it, and they know exactly how to hit that once you kind of spell the math for them. What else? I think that's all of the question off the top of my head. Oh, inbound or outbound. So like, if you have abundant of leads inbound, you're like, hey, what do I do? Do I put them on just setting meetings? Do I get them on a triage call, like a discovery call first? I would say in the beginning, keep it super simple. You do do one thing at a time, right? So in the beginning, only focus on setting the meetings. Your closers should be taking more sales call or discovery calls, at least in the beginning, right? Focus on one thing only. Once they've mastered that step, then you can graduate them to doing more advanced discovery or triage calls. But definitely don't do that in the beginning yet. They've got to learn a lot of things in the beginning, and you don't want to set them up for failure by giving them too much. I'm gonna do another video on meeting cadence and how to manage. The other thing I always say on how to manage your setters is they need to be working in a group. Like your closers, your sales team, your sales people are typically lone wolves, right? They hunt alone. They, feed themselves, right? Kill, take home the prize. The setters, because of their experience in the kind of the monotony of the role, they tend to work better as a group in a pack. If you only have one setter, oh, by the way, always try to hire in pair. Okay, try to hire in pair if you can, because you don't know what good looks like or better looks like unless you have a comparison. So if you're the first time hiring a setter, you can't tell what good looks like by having one, because that's the best you're gonna get. Try to hire in pair. Worst case scenarios, one of them is gonna be really good. you would know by comparison. Best case scenario is you have 2 really good setters, and there's always a need for more setters, right? I mean, again, salespeople know salespeople. If you need to like place them somewhere else, I'm more than happy to talk, and you can make the referral somewhere else. But most of the times, if you find 2 really good setters, you're gonna find work for them, right? Why am I going with that? Traffic would win means we gotta pay attention to traffic. So the other thing about onboarding is you. I've already forgotten my point of view. So, anyways, high in pair. So you know who's better and who's best. When it comes to yes. Your setters also need to fully bought into your vision and values. I can't stress this enough. It is so discouraging to be a brand new salesperson, and if they're working remote, sitting there in their bedroom, making 40, 50, 100 dials a day, as you expected them to do, getting rejected, or mostly no one answers. So like they're just on the computer by themselves, leaving voicemail like on like one directionally to avoid, and not have any teams or anything to connect them to the company or the customers. So that's why the testimonial video is really important. But you've got to have daily huddle where you meet with, or your sales team meet with each other, so they have that sense of connection, especially remote. And also you have to continue to drive the vision, mission, the values of the company, because people forget, right? Just like you and I, we can't even remember what we had for lunch yesterday, and you expect your sales reps who don't have any meetings every day, right, to remember why you're doing what you do. So you have to continue to drive home the vision and the mission and what you're trying to accomplish with your company to motivate and inspire your sales team. I've heard this phrase before. Sales is the only profession where you cannot perform if you're not inspired and motivated frequently. Right? If you're an accountant, I work with a lot of accountants, nothing wrong with that. Or finance or HR, you can perform the role without feeling it every day, right? Because you're not closing deals and you're not inspiring people with your energy and your words. So that's a bit of a side note. The other thing I was going to say is the other value of investing in maybe a trainer or a program for your setters is, if you only have 1 or 2 setters and your sales team is small, they don't really have a community, right? What I'm doing with our setters is, as I'm working with companies on their sales processes, I'm actually connecting all of the setters together. We're doing weekly training as a group. We're doing daily accountability check-ins, and we're doing weekly one-on-one. So like that connects them. So if you don't have that format already at your company, tap into another team or with a trainer who should have other setters to connect your setters with. So now they've got a team, right? They can hear from different perspective, and they get to learn what's working for other people, other industries, other companies outside of yours, because your challenges and your problems are not unique, right? Other companies have it too, and they can share ideas and they can learn from the best. It's a new format. I think it's going to work great. So if you don't have that at your company yet and you're trying to get there, definitely look into plugging your setters into a community or a group, again with regular training, preferably ideally with the same flow, right? The same format of like B2Bs. You're picking up the phone, you're not just setting meetings through the DMs. So I'll leave it at that. Traffic is still here, but don't want to make this video too long. If you have any questions, if you want me to take a look at your onboarding plan or your comp plan or your management cadence with your setters or your sales teams, drop a comment below or send me a message, wherever this video is going to end up. Cheers.